So the next step in preparing the hide for tanning is going to be fleshing the hide. So what I have here is a fleshing beam. This is one that's designed to be leaned against like this and work in this position. A proper fleshing knife looks like this. It's designed for fleshing hides, anything from a raccoon to a cowhide. It has a bevel on either side there that can be used. A person who is doing this at, on a small farm and doesn't have specific tools like that might be able to find more easily at an old antique store or a thrift store a draw knife like this, which is for woodworking, but can also be used for fleshing. You just wouldn't want this blade to be overly sharp. The other thing I'll wear to keep from getting too much blood and guts on myself is putting a raincoat on. Person could even just punch 2 holes in a trash bag to put it over themselves. So I'm going to put this on to keep my clothes clean. So here's our sheep hide ready to be fleshed. And I put it over the beam like this, leaving some of the upper portion here, the neck, draped down over the back, so that way I can lean against this and it keeps it from sliding down as I work. Okay, and then when I flesh the hide, I'm just pushing down like this, keeping this almost, perpendicular like this, rather than, I don't want it too flat over, I don't want to be cutting into the hide. And this fleshing knife I have isn't very sharp. Doesn't need to be for something like sheep or goats or deer. When you're fleshing some animals, such as a cowhide, you do need a bit of a sharper blade that you actually have to kind of do more of a slicing action to get the flesh to come off. But sheepskins, it comes off pretty easily. Just pushes off like this. So because of the way I skinned this, I don't have a whole lot of meat or fat on the hide, but I want to get off what is left on it here. And even if I wasn't going to tan this right now, if I was just going to salt it to store it for a later time when I could tan it, or if I was just going to freeze it, I'd want to do the fleshing first, get all of this off, and then preserve it in whatever method I intend to use. So I keep pulling the hide back over the back of the beam so I can reach this area. I don't want to try to be reaching way down here and overstretching myself. And there's the tail. And what I'll do when I get to the tail is start to push that out till it comes off. Okay, so I lost a little bit of fur on the tip of the tail, but personally when I tan sheep fleeces like this, I usually trim most of the tail off anyway, especially if it's a longer, like hair sheep. I don't want a big long tail on it. I think it just makes a nicer rug with that taken off, but that could always be left on there and tanned as well. So I'm going to come back over here and work down this side of it now. There's really not much of anything coming off of this. If I hadn't been so particular about separating the meat from the hide as I was peeling the hide, as I was skinning it, there would have been more coming off. And when I flesh the hide, I usually work down the middle and then kind of bring the sides over the beam so then I can work down the sides and just get all of this removed from it. This is a place too where, as you're doing this, if I had used my knife a lot more in the skinning process and had a lot more slash marks, these are places that would tear a lot easier as I'm doing this. So having pulled it off without any cut marks in the hide makes it just stay together as one nice hide. It's better to be doing this in cold weather because the fat that's on the hide stays solid, whereas if this was warmer, the fat can get kind of greasy and just add more grease into the wool and everything. So it keeps the fat solid and makes it just come off the hide better. I got the lower half of the hide here all fleshed, nice and clean, and now I'm going to spin it around so it's facing neck down, and I'm going to flesh this section here, get all that clean. This is the part that tends to be a little bit tougher, where the this fascia, I guess you'd call it here, and a little bit of meat really sticks tight around the neck. So that's a place where you might have to use a little bit more muscle doing this. With this fleshing knife, I can flip it to this convex side here and kind of pinpoint places where I'm having a little more difficulty getting the meat to come off of there. And then I can go back to the concave side of it. And there's still a lot of blood on the fleece here from when we did the kill on this guy, so a lot of that's kind of getting squeegeed out as I do this. I'll also hose that out after this, just to kind of get a little bit more of that blood out of there so it doesn't stain the fleece. So there's the finished hide after it's been fleshed. I try not to hose the entire fleece down and get it too sopping wet, but I just try to get around the neck here where this blood is and wring it out so it gets most of the blood out. At this stage of the game, I'm not worried about getting the fleece all perfectly clean. I'll actually shampoo it all later on when it's had a chance to sit with the alum solution on it that I'm going to put on and let it sit for a long time with that on top of it. Whew, hands are getting cold now. All right, so that's about as clean as I need it to be right there.